Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you to our Introduction to Google Drive, Docs, Sheets, and Slides class. My name is Gary Wagner, otherwise known as Gary the Google Guy, and some of you may have had me in trainings in the past. Yes, it's the same me that's still here doing the same thing. So with that, let's go ahead and get started with our presentation today. We're going to go over what we're going to cover in the class, and then we will jump into our live demonstration. So to kind of speak to what we're going to cover, we are going to show you how to interact with your attachments from Gmail and Drive, and I'll show you the connection of what you can do with those attachments right from an email. I'm going to show you how to navigate that Google Drive interface, how to recognize all of the different visual indicators, how to access the settings page and tweak a couple of things, how to organize your files utilizing folders. We'll create a shared folder environment, download, upload, and convert your files, perform document and folder searches, share out your docs, sheets, slides, and other files. We'll create, format, and manage those docs, sheets, and slides. And I'll show you how to use the priority page where you can create workspaces specific to maybe what you are working on. So we are going to start off by being in our mail screen. And I'm going to show you a couple of things here in regards to probably the most prevalent thing that you have to deal with between connection of mail and Drive, and that is your attachments. So if we look at this third email that I have down near the bottom there, if I click on that, you'll notice that when we open up our attachments, we see our attachments at the bottom of the screen, and we have some options to deal with our attachments in a couple of different ways here. Now, with all of your attachments, you will have the ability to download them to your hard drive. You can open them up for a read-only view, and you can also save them directly to your drive. I highly recommend saving them to Drive because not only does it make them all cloud-borne, but it also helps organize them and saves you a ton of time having to find them, which I find is the biggest bonus here. Now you'll notice that we have 3 attachments at the bottom of the screen. If I hover my cursor over any of those attachment icons and I can just click on it, I'm not opening it. You have to remember you are in the cloud. So Google doesn't know whether you have Microsoft Excel or Word or anything else on your computer. But you can at the very least get into this read-only mode to have a looky-loo at it. Now I am looking at our Excel file in all of its pride and glory. I can't really interact with it, but I do have the ability to look at everything in its entirety that's included in the file. Now in the top middle, I do have the ability to open that file up if I would like to. I can also go to the upper right hand corner and you'll see the Drive logo with a plus symbol, and this will allow me to add it to my Drive. Now the bonus here is that it is going to actually allow yourself to access these attachments from your Google Drive as opposed to just having to find them in email. Now with the method that I use, I have actually created an email attachments folder in Drive. Underneath that, specific folders for the specific file types, such as Excel files, Google Docs, Microsoft Word, PDFs, and so on. So it allows me to find those files just that much quicker. But you have to add it to your Drive to be able to do that. Now I can do that from here. I can also download the file in the upper right corner there with the download arrow to my hard drive, but then I would be limiting myself to having this only in my own computer. So I wouldn't be able to find it from my mobile device if I was using that, or a tablet, or even another computer. So here's what we can do. Let us back out of this. You'll see with your attachments, when you take your cursor and you hover over the attachments, you will see another icon, and that is going to be down at the bottom of the gray square when you hover your cursor over it. Now the first icon you're going to see is going to be an arrow with the option to download it to your hard drive. We don't want that one. What you do want to look at is the one that's right next to that, and that is the Drive logo. And if you hover your cursor over it, it will say Save to Drive. This is where you'll have the option to save it from the email to your Google Drive. We can click on that. It will open up a little window and will say it's added to your Drive. You will then be able to organize it and actually put it into the folder or folders that you'd like to have it organized in. I've got my email attachments folder that I would like to put it in, and inside of my email attachments folder I'm working with an Excel file, so I'm actually going to put that into my Excel folder, and then I'll click move in that bottom right corner. So once I do that, it pops into that lower corner into our screen, letting us know that we have added that file to our Google Drive, and now we can start to use it. So that's one of the things that you can do with your attachments. Now, the other thing that you can do is if you look in the upper right corner of your attachment window there, you will see a Drive icon, and it says Save All to Drive. So if you've got multiple attachments, it will allow you to save all of these attachments in one step into your Google Drive, and maybe into a single folder for email attachments that you've got set up in Drive. So you can set those up from here or from your Drive screen. So I just wanted to show you that because it is a nice connection to have between your Mail and your Drive screens. Now, to access your Google Drive, you will be going up to the upper right corner. You'll click on the 9-dot grid button. That is going to be your apps launcher. In the window that drops down, you're going to look for the triangle icon, and I have mine in the upper right corner that says Drive. So when we click on that, it will take us into a new tab and take us into our Google Drive. Okay, now let's start off by talking about what actually Google Drive is, because I know some of you on here have probably utilized Google Drive in your Gmail accounts. You're tech savvy, you've used it before, you kind of have an idea on what it is. Bear with me, we need to catch everybody up. So here's what Google Drive is to get started. It is a two-part application. Part A, it is a storage facility. So what does that mean? That means that I can upload files into my Google Drive, into the cloud, and it is going to allow me to be able to store them there. I can access them whenever I want. Don't have to worry about saving them to a hard drive. I'll be able to use those and access those maybe from my phone, of course, providing you're abiding by your VITA policy. But I could access them from mobile devices, and probably the biggest advantage here is that if your computer dies and you need a new computer, you don't have to worry about those files that were saved to your hard drive, because if you have things saved to your Google Drive, it's in the cloud. So literally we can log back onto our account in a new computer, and we will be up and running in no time, being able to access all of those files without missing a beat. Now, the other part of Google Drive is that it's a file creation program. Meaning, it's kind of like Microsoft Office in the cloud. I have the ability to create with the cloud software new Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, Forms, and Drawings. So you have the ability to create files with a cloud software. Bonus here, it never goes out of date. Google takes care of all the software updates on their end. Anytime that you access the software, it is automatically going to be the latest and greatest version. I'm betting that some of you that are working with maybe Microsoft Office, you're working on something that is not Microsoft Office 2019. Therefore, you've had to deal with patches and updates and things of that nature. Well, in Google, those days are done. You don't have to worry about that with Google Drive. So once again, just to revisit, Part A, it is a storage facility for files and file management. You can organize your files that are there in folders and such, just like you would on a Windows Explorer window or a Mac Finder window. And then secondly, it is a file creation program. Now, the next thing I'd like to do is, one, I want to plant a seed, and then two, I'd like to show you around. So to start with, all the files and folders that you're going to see in Google Drive, I would like you to think of them as nothing but a URL. It is a web address. That's it. Literally, if you don't know what a URL is, if you look at the top of my screen, in the web search area up at the very top, you'll see mine says drive.google.com. That is the URL, and that is what all of your folders and files are going to be in Google Drive. It is an address to the specific file or folder. So that's the seed I wanted to plant because we're going to build upon that as our class goes through. Now I'd like to show you around and then set some things up with you. First off, upper left corner of our screen, you'll see that there is a new button. If we click on the new button, this will allow us to create new folders for organization. We could upload a single file at a time. We could upload a folder and all of its contents into our drive. We could create new Google Docs, Sheets, Slides. In other words, the Microsoft equivalent of Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint. And then underneath more, you'll see Google Forms and Drawings at a minimum, and you can work with those programs as well. So that's the new button. Now, of course, there's going to be some shortcuts if you're a shortcut user to do certain things. Bear with on that. I'll show you where you can find those in just a little bit. But for the most part, that's where people go to create something brand new or possibly to upload files. Now, underneath that are going to be all of your navigational views of your files. You'll notice that My Drive is selected and highlighted in blue. This is where your original landing is going to be. It's a home page of sorts for yourself. Now, nobody sees your home page. Nobody sees your My Drive view. Even though you may share out files in folders, nobody sees everything here but you. They will only see those files or folders that you've given them access to, and that's it. So you're the only one that's going to see this view of your contents of your drive. Now, if we look just above that, you'll see priority. I'm going to come back to this at the end of the class and show you how to utilize it. It's a fairly new feature, but I find that I use this page more than I do anything else in Google Drive. Priority page allows you to create workspaces where you can have all of your files added as shortcuts in one nice neat place to access them very quickly and in an organizational way, maybe related to the project that you are working on or multiple projects, maybe your job role. You have certain files that you need for starting new people up in your department or your team or whatever it may be. You can have them all in one nice neat place. The advantage there, you save the amount of clicks to maybe access all those files throughout your drive and multiple folders and such. Now, below My Drive, you will see an area that says Shared with Me. Now, this area is going to be a view of all of those files that someone else has created but given you access to. Now, you do have the ability of adding a link to that file into your main drive view, but I'll show you that in just a couple minutes. Below that, you have Recent. Pretty self-explanatory here. Anything that you've recently accessed, opened, worked with. Underneath that, you have Starred. That is going to be anything that you mark with a star. Now, I think a little backwards sometimes, meaning that I don't always follow the path that most people associate with stars. Most people think stars are favorites. Now, you can use this as a favorites, but personally, I have way too many of those, so I honestly use my starred area for any files or folders that are incomplete. I'm waiting on something for it to be completed. Could be just a signature, an approval, whatever it may be. It's just not complete. I have way less of those than I do of things that are considered favorites that I access all the time. Now, just below that, you'll see Trash, and the trash bin here works very similar to the trash bin that you're probably used to using on your laptop or your tower. If you put something into the trash can, it will stay there until you decide to restore it and put it back into your drive and work with it, or delete it forever. Next up, let's go to the top middle of our screen. You'll see a search drive box. This is where we can do a basic as well as an advanced search, and I'll show you how to do that in just a little bit. And then below that, we have the main view of our Google Drive. Now, I'm going to show you how to get this to be a little bit of a different look. I know a lot of people, when they come into Drive the first time especially, it's a little overwhelming with the thumbnails and the big views of everything. I'm guessing that some of you would rather have the view that you're used to seeing in your Windows Explorer type of window or your Mac Finder type of a window. So up at the very top, you'll see a quick access bar. Now, the quick access is a love-hate thing, shall we say. Some people love it, some people hate it. A lot of people that don't like it or care for it think it's too big. Now, it uses a lot of space, granted, but it uses Google's artificial intelligence to try and predict which file you need to click on next, and puts those up at the top so you can find them quicker and easier, as opposed to, once again, maybe clicking several times to get to it in a buried folder. You can turn this off if you would like. Give me just a minute and I'll show you how to change this entire screen view. Below that, you will see your folders. Your folders will always be at the top, and there is my email attachments folder that we talked about earlier, just to give you a peek inside my brain on how I utilize this. If I double click and go into this, it opens it up, and you'll see additional folders that are nested inside of it. As I said, I organize my attachments underneath specific file types: Excel, PDFs, Words. You could put whatever other type of files that you have, maybe other program files that you'd like to have there, but you can utilize that. Let's just click on that My Drive piece at the top and get back to our My Drive view. Now, below that, when you come into your My Drive view the first time, it's probably going to be empty. But once you start creating files or uploading files, you will see them probably come into this thumbnail view. Now, if you're not big on this thumbnail view, let's show you how you can change this view up of your drive to be a little bit more comfortable. Now, the first thing that we can do is, if you would like to turn this quick access off, we can go to the upper right hand corner and you're going to see a gear icon. Click on the gear icon, and in the drop down menu you will want to click on Settings. Now, when you get into your settings, it's going to open up a window. It's going to have a few tabs, and we'll come back to this to look at a couple other things, but let's just do one thing at a time. We're going to go down to the bottom of our screen, and you are going to see a suggestions field. In that suggestions field, my guess is that you're going to see the top two boxes selected. So you're going to see this quick access not only in your My Drive, but in your Shared With Me area. If you would rather not have that quick access bar across the top, just deselect that box and it will turn it off and go away. We click on Done, and now when we come back to our main drive view, we will notice that that quick access bar has disappeared. But if you'd like to, you can always go back and turn that on. It's not a permanent solution type of deal. Now, if you would like to get your files and folders looking a little bit different than this thumbnail type view, go to the upper right hand corner. You're going to see a button that has a I inside of a circle. You're going to go just to the left of that, and you're going to see a button where if you hover your cursor over it, it will say List View. Click on that. This will take you into a more familiar view of your folders and your files. It will still have all of your folders up at the top and then all of your files underneath that, kind of like a PC Explorer, a Mac Finder type of a window. Folders will always be at the top. Just FYI, you can't move those down below or alphabetically. If you want to do the alphabetical piece, you can click on that arrow to the right of name at the top of it, but it's still going to keep your folders up at the top. It will just reverse the order of alphabetically, as well as your file names. But that's how you can change your view up of your drive, maybe, as I said, to be a little bit more comfortable. I personally use this view myself. Now, let's show you the rest of these other couple of buttons that you have before we get on to working with Drive itself. In the upper right corner, you're going to see just to the left of that gear icon that we already visited once, you're going to see a question mark and a little circle around it. If you click on this, it will drop down a little menu, and this is going to be your best friend if you ever need to ask for help. The only exception here is if it is going to be VITA specific, which you'll need to contact your VCCC people to get those specific questions about VITA policy and maybe their specific settings, that kind of thing. But if it's a how-to, ask Google. Google is your best resource because they are available 24/7, and you never have to wait for them to get back to you. So you don't have to worry about the help desk not getting back to you quick enough when you need that help. Below that, you'll see a training link, and this is the Google G Suite Learning Center. This will allow you to see snippets of videos, tips, tricks, cheat sheets, things of that nature, specific to Google Drive. And then below that, you'll see updates where you can look at specific updates that have been added to Google Drive, maybe the latest and greatest button that was added and what it does and how to use it and such. So don't be afraid to use that Google Help button, because you know in your everyday life, everybody, if you don't know something, what do? Typically, you've all just probably said it in your head, you Google it. So don't be afraid to utilize that help section there. Now just to the right side of that gear icon, the 9-dot grid apps launcher that we've shown you before to access your other Google applications in your G Suite. Below that, we showed you the grid view, and then just to the right of that, you're going to see that button that has the eye inside of it. This is your information panel, and this can be a great tool for you if you need to keep track of maybe activity on things. So if you click on that button, it will slide out a panel on that right side of your screen. By default, if you haven't selected a file or folder, it's going to say My Drive, which probably is not going to be of too much help to you. But below that, you're going to see two tabs, a Details tab and an Activity tab. If you select a file, you'll notice it will select that file's name in that right side pane now, and then it will show the activity of what you have done or what other people have done if it was shared out, and then the details of that. It will give you a thumbnail view of it, who the owner of a file is, who it's shared with, and their permission levels, folders that they could possibly be located in, maybe under the add to description, some metadata that you or someone else added, that kind of information. So it's a great way of keeping track on activity with the file as well as details specific to it. And you can use this for files and folders. To get this to disappear, we can click on that X or click on that I button again and it will go away. Now you'll notice as I've stayed selecting this one single file, some additional buttons have popped up in that upper right corner. You'll see just to the left of that grid view button we have our 3-dot icon, and this is equivalent to using a right-click menu. So if you've got a mouse and you do a lot of right-clicking to pull up menus, such as I'm going to do here, this menu will be able to be found underneath those 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. So you can use that as you may need. Now just to the right of that, the trash bin, which we've already kind of stated what the trash is. You want to remove a link from your view here, we can do that. The preview button, or it looks like an eyeball. Literally, it's allowing you to look at the entirety of a file without having to open it up. Now the confusion usually says, well, if it's the entirety of a file, how do I see the rest of the file? Well, it depends on the file type. If it is an Excel sheet or a Google sheet, you will see the tabs in the bottom left where you could click to the different worksheets, or scrolling down if there was multiple pages that way. If it is a Google Doc, you could scroll down and see all of the pages that are included in that file. If it is a slide deck like we have on our screen here, if there were multiple slides, you could click in the lower left part of the toolbar and go to specific slides and see the entire deck there. If it is a Word or other type of text file, once again, even though it's in Microsoft, you could scroll down and see the entirety of it there. Also from the screen, you'll have the option in the upper right corner to download that file to your hard drive. The arrows in the middle and left and right of the screen will allow you to go to the next file, not the next page. And depending on the file type, some additional buttons may appear there that you can utilize, like add the file to your drive and so on. I use that preview file option all the time. It's a great tool. Now the next button, which is going to be probably the most confusing piece for most people, but we're going to go into it in detail, so no harm, no foul there. And that is going to be the share button. So the little person with a plus symbol. This is what you're going to use to share your files out. And I'm going to show you how to share a file out here as well as inside of a file too. And this is giving access to your files or folders for people to work on with you. It's a little bit different than Microsoft Word, and we'll show you that in just a little bit. Now just to the left of that, you're going to be a little limited with this button in terms of get shareable link. This is going to kind of, I guess you could say, piggyback on the sharing piece. Now typically if you click on get shareable link, it will allow you to turn on link sharing for a group of people to be able to just click on a link to the file and access it without sharing it with specific people. However, here in your VITA domain, that has been limited for you. And I'll explain that when we get to the sharing piece. It will make much more sense, trust me. Now in the middle of the screen we have all of our files and our folders. You'll notice that we have folders up at the top and our files down below. We do have the ability to upload files that are of Microsoft or PDF format, and we can leave them in that format. You'll see a orange P for anything that is going to be Microsoft PowerPoint. You will see a blue square with a white W for Microsoft Word, and I'm going to show you when we upload a file our Microsoft Excel. It's typically a green box with a white X. Our other file types that we have, the gold icon is going to be for a Google slide deck. The demo spreadsheet is going to be a Google Sheet. And then at the very bottom, where mine says Untitled Document, we have a blue square with some white lines across it. That is a Google Doc. Now you'll see some additional icons to the right side of the file name. You'll see a star if you want to star any of your files, and to do that it's very easy. We can select the file. We can either use that three-dot icon menu in the upper right corner of our screen, or if you are a mouse or keypad person, you can right-click and you'll see an option of Add to Starred. Once you do that in that menu, you will see a star appear to the right side of the file name. If you already have a file that has a star on it, you can do the same method and it will say Remove from Starred. You may also see a little people icon to the right side of the name, letting you know that that file has been shared. Now when it comes to your folders, you'll look at the very top here. We have one folder that is a solid color. This is private to me and only me. No one has access to the contents that are inside of this email attachments folder. Below that I have one that says Shared Test Folder, and notice the difference in the icon. There's a little person inside of it. Kind of looks like a little prisoner of the folder. Well, this is a shared folder environment, meaning I have shared this out with my team, my department, a group of people, and we all have access to the files and folders within that folder. Show you how to do that in just a little bit here. Now in the middle of the screen you're going to see that there is an owner column. The owner column lets you know who owns the file, and that's important in Google Drive because only the owner of a file or folder can delete that item for good. They have the ultimate power with that file or folder. Now this is going to come into play in a couple of different ways on who can do what with the file or folder, as well as another piece that I'm going to show you here in just a minute. Now to the right of that we have last modified, but if I click the little arrow to the right of that, you can change this column to last modified by me, or last opened by me. And then to the right side of that, file size. Now you will be working with files that are going to be both Google and non-Google format. You will only ever see a file size for those that are not Google format. Alright, let's jump back to that owner piece. Now remember what we said about the owner column. Only the owner can delete that file for good. Okay, now as I said when we were going through our navigation, all the way over to the left we have a Shared with Me area. If we click on that and we go to our Shared with Me area, you will probably see a number of files and folders already here, even though you've never worked with Drive yet. That's because you're a part of maybe some different mailing lists or groups or teams, projects. You just have those files automatically shared with you. You will be able to find those here, and even though there's some here that you may never use, you may want some of these to access just a little bit quicker. Here's one thing that you can do. Instead of having to go back and forth between two tabs of My Drive and Shared with Me, you can find your file that you would like, and you will be able to select, and you will see to the upper right corner a Drive icon with a plus symbol. This is going to allow you to add a copy of the link to that file. It's not copying the file, it's copying a link to it and adding it to your My Drive view. So let's show you how this works. I've got this VITA Google Drive project folder, and this works for folders and files. I'm going to add it to my drive even though I don't own it, copying a link to it. So we click and now it says added to my drive. I can organize it from here, or I can go back to the left, click on my drive, and organize it from this view. Now in this view, we will see that we now have, in the middle of our drive, we have now added a VITA Google Drive project folder. If we look in the middle of the screen though to the owner column, notice who the owner is. It's not me. Now remember what we said here. Only the owner of a file or folder can delete that item for good. So I don't own this file, but I'm done using this file, or in this case folder. So I can either right click on it or select it as I have, and I can click on the garbage can in the upper right. Now what this is going to do, it's going to remove the link from this view. It is not deleting the file. It is not removing it for everybody. I am not the owner, therefore I am removing the link from this view. So we do that. It disappears from our My Drive screen. However, if I go to the left and click on that Shared With Me area again, let's look at our Shared With Me. Notice what is now in our Shared With Me again, and that is the VITA Google Drive folder, because I didn't delete it. I just had a link copied to my drive as a view of it to access it quicker. I'm done with it. I can delete it. I haven't deleted the file or folder. I haven't deleted my access to it. I just deleted the link to it. That's what I was talking about in terms of building upon that whole idea of everything that we see here is just a link. All right, let's get back to that My Drive view. Now, the next thing I want to do is go into settings and show you a couple of things here. So we're going to go to the upper right hand corner of the screen and click on that gear icon. In the gear icon menu that drops down, you will not only see settings as I've already mentioned, and that's what we're going to go to next, but for those of you that are keyboard shortcut users, this is where you'll go to see all of the shortcuts you can utilize in Google Drive. So we're going to click on settings. Now I'm not going to go over every single setting that's here, but I do want to point out a couple that could be of importance to you here in our Google Drive. We've already mentioned one, and that is that suggestions field. Just above that, you will see density. Now with density, if you click on the little option to the right, it will drop down a menu of comfortable, cozy, and compact. This will allow us to change the spreading out of our files and folders in that main view. So if you want it a little easier on your eyes, stick with comfortable. If you're one of those people that likes to see a ton on the screen and don't mind if it's a little smaller or more crammed together, maybe go with compact. Now another important piece that you're going to want to look at is in the upper left corner, notifications. You'll see that you'll probably have a button already pre-selected for you. Typically, IT will set this up to do email automatically for you, meaning if anybody ever does any updates to their Google Drive stuff, meaning they share a file out with you, they make a comment on a file that you're a part of, or things of that nature, you'll get an email for that update. Not always the best in terms of keeping on the ball, because you have to look at your email and read those to see those. I really encourage people to select this browser option, and what this will do, and when the little window pops up in the top in the URL, you'll just click on allow. But what this will do is it will pop up a little window in the lower right hand corner of your screen. It doesn't disturb you working, but it will alert you when you have updates of Drive stuff, like someone is sharing a file with you, someone is requesting access to a file that you own, someone has made a comment, a suggestion, suggested edit, or assigned an action item to you in a file that you're a part of. So it's a really handy tool to utilize, and I really encourage people to select that. So on a basic level, that's about all you need to get started with Google Drive setting wise. So let's get into the meat of the matter here. Let's start working with our drive itself. Let's start off with the easiest thing that we could probably do, and that's to create a new folder. Now you can right click anywhere on your screen and bring up that menu. You can also click on that new button in the upper left, which is what we're going to do. You'll see up at the very top in that menu the option to create a new folder, and we're going to select that first. And then we're going to create a very simple folder. We are just going to label this one ABC, and then click Create. And that's going to pop it up to the top of our list in our main drive view. Now you'll notice it defaults to a gray color. If you would like to be able to color code your folders, go to the folder, right click or three-dot icon menu in the upper right corner, and you'll see an option to change color. And you can change the color of all of your folders. So for today, let's do this one in green, and it will change it to a green color. Now if you would like to make a nested folder structure underneath this, we can double click and go into ABC, and then we can click on that new button again, or once again we can right click with the mouse, three-dot icon, create a new folder with that option. We'll title this one ABC2 just to keep things simple, and create. And let's color code this one. How about we do blue? Now if you'd like to see your folders, we can see all of our folders to the left of our screen where it says My Drive. Hover your cursor over My Drive and then click the little arrow to the left of where it says My Drive. It will expand the menu down and it will show you the folders that you have in your drive. If you'd like to see the nested folders, you can click the little arrow to the left of the folder name and it will show you anything nested. Now what's kind of nice about this view is that it allows you to manipulate your folders pretty quick and easy. If you would like ABC to be out of ABC1, let's click, drag, hover over My Drive, let go, and it will put it as a standalone folder. If you would like ABC2 to be inside of ABC, reverse it. Click, drag ABC2, and drop it into ABC1. And we can nest it that way. So you've got options to manipulate your files in that left side navigation there with your folders. So that's how you can create a folder and color code them. So now let's talk about the confusing piece, but this is going to kind of overlap both to mail or to files as well as folders, and that's going to be the sharing aspect. I want to create a shared folder for my team. So I click ABC, and we are going to click our share icon in the upper right hand corner. Brings up this first box. Now in this first sharing box that appears, I highly encourage you to go to the bottom right corner and click on Advanced. Gives you a more granular view of everything for your sharing piece. Now the Commonwealth's Google Drive sharing and permissions is unique from any other Google Drive installation. In an effort to meet VITA's least privilege requirement, there is a custom script that runs in the background of Google Drive that will automatically break sharing anytime one of the following options are selected: on Commonwealth of Virginia or on anyone at the Commonwealth with the link. You would find those underneath where it says change to the right side of that share box. When we click on that, you'll see another menu pops up with three options. The only option that you are going to be able to use is the one at the bottom that says off specific people. So if you select either on anyone at the Commonwealth with the link or on anyone at the Commonwealth, it is going to break that sharing and revert back to private or only those specific individuals that you have shared that file or folder out with. Okay, so I just wanted to give you that heads up in that regard, and a little bit later I'll show you visually that script that is how it's going to work here. Okay, so what we would do is we want to share this out with an individual. So I want to create a folder, I want to share it out with someone, so I go to the bottom and where it says invite people, we are going to click on Megan. Select, and then to the right side you'll see a little box where it says the permissions that you can do with folders and files. Now with folders it's a little different than files. With folders you can offer someone read-only where they can access everything in the folder but they cannot add or subtract from the folder, or you can allow them to organize, add, and edit, meaning they could add files and subtract files from the folder. So you pick whichever option you want permission wise. You can, underneath that, add a message if you would like to. And then at the very bottom, you'll notice that there is an owner setting that you may want to look at where you can prevent editors from changing access and adding new people, maybe without your permission. So if you select that, it will limit people from changing access and adding new people to this folder without your permission. Now, once you've done this, we will click on Send. And it will add that person that is inside the Commonwealth. Now, do keep in mind, you cannot share outside of the Commonwealth. However, if you do have a file that you would like to share with someone outside of the Commonwealth domain, you will essentially have to download that file to your hard drive and email it to them as an attachment. So that's what it looks like to share a folder. So I can change my permission with this person at any point in time. If I have an oops moment like, oh, I didn't mean to share it out and give them edit access, just click on that permission button and then change it to view only. Save changes down below. And within about 10 seconds, you have just changed up the sharing permission on that. Okay, so that is what it's going to look like for sharing a folder. Now let us show you how to share a file. We can do that inside of a file as well as outside of the file. So let's show you how to share one in this view. We're going to select our file, our demo presentation. We're going to click on the share icon in the upper right hand corner of our screen. We're going to skip the first box that appears here in terms of that first sharing with others option. We're going to click in the lower right corner of advanced. And then from here, you'll see a couple of differences. The first difference that you're going to see is underneath the permissions. With a folder, remember it was can add, organize, or edit, or view. With a file, you can give someone edit privilege, which will allow them to work with that file as much as they want to, however they want to, literally as if it's their own. The only thing that they cannot do, they cannot delete that file because they don't own it. Next up below that, you will see can comment. This will allow people kind of a middle of the road type of permission where they could do suggested edits that would have to be approved by an editor or owner. They could just add comments as feedback, things of that nature, but they can't edit the file without those edits being approved. And then below that, we have can view. In other words, read only. Also, difference down below, we have owner settings. Disable options to download, print, and copy for anybody that you give commenter and viewer permission. So depending on the permission level that you would like to or need to give, you can select either or of those owner settings. Same kind of thing, we enter people's names, select, permission level, send, and then from there we will have our name added to the list. Now when it comes to the sharing, another couple of things. You will not be able to send with distribution lists. You cannot share a distribution list, in other words, as the invite people, so you can't use those here. It has to be individuals only for Drive files and folders. You can also not share outside the domain, as I mentioned earlier as well. Okay? All right, so that is the sharing piece outside of a file. Next up, let us look at some other actions we can do. Let's upload a file. So we are going to go to New, and we're going to click on File Upload. It should bring up a Mac Finder, PC Explorer type of a window. From there, you can select what file that you want from whatever folder you would like to add. And let's do that stock prices one that is an Excel sheet. And we then click on Open at the bottom of that window. You'll notice in the lower right hand corner a little window pops up letting us know that we have just uploaded a file, and it will let you know when that upload is complete. Now if you would like to locate and find that file, you can click on that little green check mark which turns into a folder and select and that will take you right to it. In this case, being that we've only got a few files here, we can see that we've got that file already added to our drive down near the bottom of the screen. You'll notice that it also uploaded it in Microsoft format. Now you do have the ability to work with your Microsoft files here, which is a bonus, and you don't even have to have Microsoft Office to do it. I do not have Microsoft Office on this computer. However, if I go to this file, which is in Microsoft Excel, I can right click. In this, I will see an option to be able to, at the top, open with Google Sheets. Wait for it. It's going to open up our file, and what I'd like you to do is look in the upper left corner of the screen. You're going to see the title appear. Once it completely loads up, you're going to see just to the right side of that stock prices title a little colored balloon. Now in that little colored balloon, in all of its majesty, you are going to see it says .xlsx. This, my friends, is actually Microsoft format. It is not Microsoft Excel, as in the program. It is Microsoft format. So in this view, you'll notice that our toolbar and all of our pull-down menus are able to be used with this file. So I literally can edit and work with this Microsoft file in Google. I'm using Google Tools, Functions, Toolbars, Menus, with a Microsoft format and leaving it in Microsoft format. There is no save button in Google Drive, just FYI. So therefore, if I do a quick, let me just add a couple of characters and click away into this one cell, in the top middle of our screen of our Google Drive files, you will now see all changes saved in Drive because there is no save button. So it's automatically saving this. Now, if I would like to, I can convert this into Google format. If it is a Microsoft Excel file, FYI, do not convert it into Google format if it has a macro in it. Google does macros, but you have to create them in Google first. You can't convert a Microsoft macro into a Google macro, FYI. Other than that, everything will come over. Your data, your formulas, the whole 9 yards. Google Docs. If it is a Microsoft Word file, you want to convert it to a Google Doc format. Everything will come over with no harm, no foul. The only thing that typically does not come over in a Microsoft Word file are fillable fields that you can do in Word. Those will not translate into Google Docs. Everything else, no harm, no foul, come over just fine. If it is a PowerPoint, if you have audio and video in it, you will probably have to reconnect your audio and video. That is usually the only snafu that will happen. Otherwise, you can convert anything into your old PowerPoint slides into a Google slide deck and so on, and use those same themes, pictures, and all that other good stuff there. So it's a really easy process to do. From here, what we can do is go to our File menu. You'll see an option in the pull-down menu in that upper left corner of our screen, in option 2, Save as Google Sheets. We will click on that and it will convert it automatically for you in a matter of seconds. This time, when you look at the file, if you look in the upper left corner of the screen, you will see the file name, but you will not see that XLSX bubble. But if you look in the middle of my screen, remember that edit that we made to that one cell, the FGHF? Yeah, it took that change over because it was saved in Google Drive, even though it was Microsoft format. So that's how you can convert a file, if you would like to, from Microsoft format to Google format. Otherwise, let me exit out of these. We're going to get back to our main Google Drive screen. You will see our Microsoft file. And if I want, here's another way that you can upload a file. If you would like, we can upload a file from a Windows Explorer Mac Finder window by just taking the file from our window and dragging and dropping that into our Google Drive, and it will upload it there and do that. If you already have folders in place, like our ABC folder that we created earlier. You can actually upload the file with a drag and drop, and if you hover over that folder, it will drop it into that folder and organize it. If it's a shared folder, it will automatically share it with those people as well. So some bonuses for some shortcuts there if you'd like to do that. Google also has in Drive a deduplication feature where if you've already got the file name in your Google Drive, you'll notice in our lower right corner once it's uploaded again, it will say, hey, you've already got this. Do you want to keep this as a separate file? Which in that case, it would just put a 1 next to the file name. Or do you want to combine it as version number 3 because you've already done this once? If you'd like to see your other versions, go to that Excel file, and it only works for Excel, Word, PDFs, PowerPoints. When you right click on the file in that menu, you will see an option to look at Manage Versions. And when you look at your Manage Versions window, it will pop up all of the versions of that file that you can use there. Okay? So that is what you can do. All right, so that is your Manage Versions piece and working with those Microsoft format files. So now that we've kind of shown you that, the next thing I'd like to show you how to do, and just as an FYI, if you need to organize your files, you can drag and drop them into folders that you would like if you'd like to do that. If you would like to add a file to multiple places without duplicating it, you select the file, as we're going to select our demo presentation. This is a really cool tip, FYI. Shift Z. So your Shift plus your Z as in zebra button will pop up a window for you to be able to add a link, as in a copy of this link, to another folder. You would select wherever you want it in your My Drive, select that folder, and then you'll see a green Add button in the lower right hand corner of that little window for you to add it to. It will not make a copy of it. It will copy the link and drop it into that other location. Okay? All right, so now that we've shown you a couple of things there, now let's show you how to create something new. If you'd like to create something new, we go to the upper left corner, go to our New button, and how about we just do a new Google Doc for today? I'm just going to show you a couple of real basic things here advice-wise, because it could be an entire class by itself. Plus, I want to try and answer a few of your questions that some people are posing to me right now. Okay, so working with Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, it's all going to be the same here as when you start anything brand new in Google Drive. Just as a heads up, make sure, since there is no save button, the first thing that you do in the upper left corner is you click on where it says Untitled, Document, Presentation, Slide, whatever, Sheet. Because if you don't, you start working, you close this window, here's what's going to happen. It's going to leave it in your My Drive as, wait for it, yep, you got it. It's going to leave it titled as an untitled document, and it will drive you nuts trying to figure out what that file is just because you didn't name it. So my advice is, as soon as you create anything brand new, the first thing that you want to do is you want to give it a title. Select that title in the upper left, give it a title, and then just with your mouse click away from it somewhere. Okay? Now once you do that, you'll see a little star and a folder appear to the right side of the file name. This is my habit. I typically star things right away because it's incomplete. And then you can organize it by clicking the folder icon in that upper left and put it wherever you want right from within the file itself. So you don't have to exit it and then organize it. Now you'll also see that we can start working with this file as we need. If you want to start setting it up, underneath the File menu, down at the very bottom you'll see Page Setup, Spreadsheet Setup, Slide Deck Setup, those kind of things, and you'll be ready to go from there. In the upper right hand corner you can see that you have the Share button. You can share this file out right here, right now, or later. You don't have to share it out. You can leave it as private, but it looks the same as it did as when we shared it in our main view. Skip the first box, click on Advance. Now I'd like to show you how this script works. I'm going to change the private access at the top there. I'm going to share this out with everybody at the Commonwealth. It is not going to let me do it Like I said, that script runs in the background, but I want to show you how it works. Access, anyone with the Commonwealth of Virginia can view it. I'm going to click on Save. Now, in the upper right-hand corner, remember it said Share? It's going to let me know if it's shared it out or not. I've already turned this on of who has access. If I click on Done, let's watch what happens in the upper right-hand corner of the file. I shared it out with everybody at the Commonwealth. The script is recognizing that, and it immediately reverts back to private, only me, because I cannot share any file out with everyone at Virginia. Okay, so that's how that script works. But those are the basics of being able to do something with that file right away. You can share it now, share it later, or share it whenever you want. Okay, now if you would like to share a file with someone, you need to do this in a couple of different ways. If it is someone that is outside of the domain, you will have to download that file, and you can do that from inside of a file menu. It will give you the download as Microsoft PDF. You cannot download it as a Google format file because your hard drive, Windows, doesn't recognize Google format. So you do have these built-in PDF and Microsoft converters, as well as some others, depending on the file type. For sheets, you'll be able to do it as a Microsoft Excel or PDF. For slides, Microsoft PowerPoint or Excel. But you can also email this as an attachment if you would like, right from the file itself, as well as being able to download it in those other formats too. So those are a couple of the basics on working with Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides. And like I said, no matter what you're creating, a doc, a sheet, or a slide, those steps, creating it brand new, adding a title, organizing it, sharing it, are all going to be the exact same throughout your entire Google Drive. Now, the next thing I'd like to show you how to utilize is that priority page piece. Now, remember I said we can kind of do a really cool piece here. That is your priority page. So now that you've uploaded some files, you've created some files, you've had files shared with you, let's go into this priority page. I want to show you real quick on how this works. Now, you'll see that at the top there's kind of that quick access piece. As of right now, you can't turn that off, just FYI. I wouldn't be surprised if that functionality is added in a little bit. But below that is the important piece, and that is going to be your workspaces. Now, when it comes to workspaces, here's what you can do. I have multiple jobs that I do at my company. I am in charge of training, coordinating training, scheduling it, delivering it, the whole nine. I am also in charge of organizational change management, OCM. So I create email templates for my clients and help them along with different things like that, create different schedules and such. Different roles, but I need different files for those roles. Instead of clicking in multiple folders to get to those different files, here's what I can do. I can create a workspace. So we click on Create in that top left. And let's say I'm going to be VITA, and we'll just do HR, for example. Part of my role, whatever. Give it a title. Create. You will see that workspace now appear, and the first box that pops up in the middle of your face is Add some files. So we can now add files from anywhere in our drive or shared with me. So we could go to anything that I've recently accessed, anything in my drive. That far right side window will give you the window to pick from, at least to start with. So how about we do our demo doc? We'll insert that one. And then I think I'm going to add an additional file, only this one's from shared with me. I'm going to do this super user overview file that Megan shared with me and insert. And I think I'm done for now. And I make it disappear. I still have access to that workspace on the right side of our screen. So it's kind of like a ginormous folder with shortcuts to all of the files that I want to access. Now, if I go back to my drive, I'll see my other files that I have, and maybe I want to add another file. So in my drive view, I'm going to select this PDF down near the bottom, the Getting Started. I can right click, and then in this, I will now see in that menu the option to add it to a workspace. So with the workspace piece, I can add to workspace. We're going to pick our VITA HR, and from there it will add a shortcut to that file. So now if we go back to our priority page, we will see far right side of our screen in our workspaces, there is our getting started file that we added just a moment ago. So you can access all of these files from one nice neat place. Now once your workspace is done, you could remove it, delete it. If you would like to, you can rename it or you can hide it. So you can create these workspaces ahead of time if you know a project's coming or whatever it may be. Your hidden ones will show up at the bottom of your screen. You'll see all of your hidden ones and you'll be able to unhide them and pop them back up. If you're done with them, like our VITA demo one, I can remove it. Confirm my remove, and it's gone. Just that quick. So you can create multiple workspaces, maybe according to projects, teams, roles, whatever you're working with there, and utilize that project workspace. Now another cool piece is that with that home page lands on my drive, in your settings, you have the ability to make that your home page if you would like to and have it land there, which I personally do. Now the last thing I'd like to show you is your search box up at the very top, and a lot of people forget that Google was a search engine before it was a platform for producing mail, calendar, and drive files. If at the very top you have something you need to find, you can click inside that search box and a drop down menu will appear where you will see your previous searches that you've typed in there. You could type in some new terms. You could sort by the file type if you would like. Or you can skip this and do a really refined search by clicking on Advanced Search at the bottom, or there's a little arrow in the upper right corner of that search box. If you click on either of the advanced search or that black arrow, it will give you a really refined piece where you can really hone in on what are you looking for. Where is it at, location, who it's shared with, the type of file, has certain words in the body or a title, the whole 9 yards. Skip multiple steps and get right to the heart of the matter. All right, ladies and gentlemen, well, that is what I have for you in terms of our Introduction to Google Drive, Docs, Sheets, and Slides class. Thank you so much, everybody, for attending our class today. I do appreciate that. I hope you all have enjoyed our session today on Google Drive and its introduction to. I'm sorry I couldn't go into much more detail because it was just an introductory class, but hopefully we've given you enough to get started. So with that, everyone, thank you so much for attending my class today. I do appreciate that. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your week, and until we meet again, another day, another time, another class. This is Gary the Google Guy signing off. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye now.